The projector hums, a low thrum in the sterile silence of the courtroom. It throws a harsh rectangle of light onto the wall, waiting. Every eye is on it or on him. My husband. Soon my ex-husband. He sits there, across the aisle, a picture of arrogant composure. A faint, patronizing smile plays on his lips. He glances at me, a look that says, "See? You blew this up. For nothing." His lawyer, a woman as sharp and cold as a scalpel, sits beside him, a picture of quiet confidence. They think they've won. They think they shredded my case, piece by piece, painting me as the unstable, hysterical wife who imagined things. They called it a fantasy, a delusion born of insecurity. My own lawyer, bless her calm, steady heart, just nods towards the screen. The bailiff adjusts something near the projector. The humming intensifies slightly. The air feels thick, heavy with anticipation and the faint scent of old paper and desperation. My hands are clenched so tight under the table my knuckles ache. I haven't eaten in 12 hours. My stomach churns, a knot of pure fear and sickening hope. This is it. The moment everything either shatters completely or snaps into horrifying focus. He catches my eye again, and his smile widens just a fraction. It's a smile of absolute certainty, of victory already claimed. He believes his lies, believes in the power of his dismissal. He believes I was just overreacting. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps me more than you know. Life before this felt warm, comfortable, like a favorite old sweater. It wasn't perfect, nothing is, but it was mine. Ours. We had the house in the suburbs, the one with the creaky floorboard on the stairs that we always meant to fix but never did. We had routines. Sunday morning coffee in the sunroom, the way the light hit the dust motes dancing in the air. Friday night takeout and bad movies on the couch. The comfortable silence of two people who knew each other's thoughts without needing words. He worked long hours, sure, but it was for us. Or so I told myself. He traveled sometimes, business trips that were just part of the landscape of his career. I had my part-time job, my book club, my garden. A small, predictable universe. My desires were simple. Continuation. Security. The quiet certainty of waking up next to the same person who knew my flaws and loved me anyway. The simple pleasure of planning a summer vacation, talking about retirement years down the line, assuming a shared future stretching out like a calm, wide river. We were building something, brick by careful brick. A life. A shared history. It felt solid. Unshakable. The kind of solid you only question in retrospect, when the ground has already fallen away beneath you. The first crack was small, almost imperceptible. A late night at the office that stretched into 2, then 3. He'd call, voice tired, apologetic. Big deadline, he'd say. Client emergency, standard stuff. Work was demanding. I understood. I brought him coffee to the office once late, just to see him. His assistant seemed surprised. He seemed slightly flustered. He smoothed his tie, kissed my cheek quickly, ushered me out with promises of making it up to me. I didn't think anything of it then. Just a busy man. Under pressure. Then came the little things. The phone face down more often than not. The quick swipe away from the screen when I walked into the room. A new, unfamiliar cologne. Subtle shifts, like the temperature dropping by half a degree each day. You don't notice the cold until you're already shivering. I'd ask about his trips, how the meetings went. His answers became shorter. Vague. He'd talk about the city, the weather, but never the details of the work that kept him away so long. It felt like talking to a stranger wearing my husband's face. A polished, distant stranger. My gut tightened. A slow, persistent clench. It whispered, then spoke louder, a cold, clear voice of unease. I'd look at him across the dinner table, the man I'd built my life with, and see a flicker of something I didn't recognize. Evasion? Guilt? Annoyance? I couldn't place it, but it was there, a tiny shard of ice in the warmth. I started asking questions. Gentle ones at first. You seem tired, honey. Is everything okay? Is work getting to be too much?
He'd sigh,
Rub his temples. Just rest, he'd say. Don't worry about it, dismissive.
not mean, not yet.
Just putting up a wall. The wall got higher, thicker. My questions became less gentle, tinged with the anxiety that was now a constant companion. Who were you texting just now? What hotel did you stay at in Chicago? His reactions changed, from weary dismissal to irritation. Why are you asking me so many questions? He'd snap. Do you not trust me? The classic turnaround. Make me the problem. My lack of trust, my supposed insecurity, was the source of the tension, not his behavior. He started using the word. You're overreacting, said calmly, rationally, like he was explaining basic physics to a child. There's nothing going on. You're inventing problems. Hearing that word, overreacting, felt like a physical blow. It implied I was hysterical, unbalanced. It undermined my reality, my instincts, my sanity. It made me question everything I felt, everything I saw.
Was I
just paranoid? My friends said he worked hard. My family said marriage had its ups and downs. The doubt was a toxic gas, filling the corners of my mind, suffocating my conviction. I started second-guessing myself constantly. I'd see something, a receipt sticking out of his coat pocket, a quick glance at his watch followed by a sudden need to leave, and a wave of suspicion would hit me, cold and nauseating. Then, just as quickly, the self-doubt would flood in.
Stop it.
You're overreacting.
He said so.
Everyone says so. You're being crazy. The internal battle was exhausting, more tiring than any physical labor. It was a constant, silent scream inside my head. I tried harder. I baked his favorite cookies. I planned a surprise weekend getaway. I initiated intimacy, hoping to reconnect, to find the man I knew buried beneath the stress. It was like trying to light a damp log. Nothing caught fire. He was distant, polite, but emotionally absent. The attempts felt hollow, forced. They only amplified the chasm between us. The silence between us grew louder than any argument. It was filled with unasked questions, unspoken accusations, and the heavy weight of his secrets.
He started criticizing me.
Little things at first. My cooking. The way I organized the kitchen. My clothes. It felt like he was trying to push me away, to justify his own withdrawal by finding fault with me. Anything to avoid looking at himself. Or at what he was doing. The house, our sanctuary, began to feel like a battleground of unspoken resentments. I walked on eggshells, trying not to trigger another sigh, another accusation of being difficult or emotional. I felt utterly alone. The people I thought I could confide in offered platitudes or gentle warnings. Don't go looking for trouble, one friend said. Men go through phases, another advised. They didn't see the quiet erosion, the calculated distance, the chilling calmness of his lies. They saw the successful businessman, the charming husband he presented to the world. The mask he wore for them was seamless. For me, it was cracking, revealing a stranger underneath. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep properly. My body ached with the tension I held inside. I lost weight. My reflection showed a woman I barely recognized, gaunt, with haunted eyes. The mirror confirmed the word he used. I looked unwell, like someone on the verge of collapse. Maybe he wanted me to feel that way. Maybe that was part of the plan. Make me doubt myself so completely that I wouldn't pursue the truth. Make me believe I was simply unstable, not betrayed. The turning point wasn't a dramatic confrontation. It was quiet, like a circuit breaker flipping. I was tidying his study, something I rarely did, and a piece of paper fell from a book. It was a printout. Not a bill, not work. It was a reservation confirmation. A hotel in a city he'd been to recently.
Not the one he said he stayed at.
The dates matched one of his late work trips. The name on the reservation was his. But the room type, it was a suite, with a king bed and a note about special requests that were redacted. Why would he need a suite for a quick solo business trip? Why a different hotel than his usual chain? Why lie about it? The pieces clicked into place with a sickening finality. This wasn't about late nights or stress. This was deliberate, planned, hidden. My gut instinct, the one he'd tried to gaslight out of existence, screamed triumphantly. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I was right. And the truth was uglier than I'd imagined. The rage came first. A cold, hard block of ice in my chest. Then, a strange, detached calm. The doubt vanished, replaced by absolute certainty. He wasn't just having an affair. He was systematically lying to me, gaslighting me, trying to make me question my own sanity to cover his tracks. The cruelty of that was almost worse than the infidelity itself. He didn't just break our vows. He tried to break me. In that moment, staring at the printout, I knew I couldn't confront him. Not with angry words, not with tears. He would deny it, twist it, find a way to blame me. He would use his calm certainty, his practiced dismissiveness. He would call me hysterical. Call me an idiot for snooping. He would use that word again. Overreacting. And he would win because I didn't have the full picture. This single piece of paper was a breadcrumb, not the whole loaf. My strategy shifted entirely. I wouldn't react. I would act. I would collect. I would build a case as meticulously as he had built his wall of lies. I wouldn't let him know I knew. I would pretend just as he had. I would watch, listen, and gather. Getting the full picture was like assembling a shattered mirror. Each shard was sharp, reflecting a distorted piece of the truth. The hotel confirmation led me to other things. Credit card statements showing expenses at places he'd never mentioned. A burner phone, hidden in his golf bag, with messages that confirmed everything. The dates, the locations, the sickening intimacy of their plans. His travel patterns weren't random business needs. They were calculated rendezvous. He wasn't just meeting someone. He was building a separate life, woven into the fabric of our own. The sheer audacity, the coldness of it, took my breath away. He'd be sitting across from me, talking about his tough week at work while planning his next escape with her. The duplicity was staggering. The contempt he must have had for me, to live this double life so seamlessly, to look me in the eye and lie with such conviction. The plot twist wasn't just discovering the affair. It was understanding the extent of his deceit and, crucially, realizing his fatal flaw, his utter confidence in my perceived weakness and irrationality. He was so convinced I was overreacting, so sure I'd never find real proof, that he got sloppy in his certainty. He left little trails, assuming I'd never follow them, or if I did, I'd just confront him emotionally, giving him the chance to deny and deflect. He underestimated me completely. He thought my overreacting was proof of my incompetence, not the raw, desperate energy of someone whose world was being systematically dismantled. He saw my distress as a sign I was losing my grip, not gaining the resolve to fight. He was so focused on managing my perceived hysteria that he never imagined I would quietly and methodically gather facts. His smug certainty was my greatest weapon. While he was busy reassuring himself I was just being difficult, I was finding the evidence that would dismantle his entire facade. He thought he was playing chess against an amateur. I was playing against an opponent who didn't even know the game was on. The deeper I dug, the worse it got. It wasn't a brief lapse. This had been going on for a long time. Months. Maybe longer. The lies were layered, intricate. He'd created a narrative for me, the stressed-out, overworked husband, to explain away his absence, his distance. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. And I had bought it, partly because I wanted to, partly because he was so good at selling it, and partly because he'd convinced me any other explanation was just me overreacting. The crisis deepened as I prepared. The weight of the secret I carried was immense. I still had to live with him, act normal, while knowing everything. Every touch felt like a violation, every conversation a performance. My face ached from faking smiles. My throat was tight from swallowing back the truth. I hired a lawyer.
Discreetly.
A woman recommended by a friend, known for being sharp and unsentimental. I laid out everything. The dates, the hotels, the burner phone records, the credit card statements, the initial confirmation slip. She listened, her face impassive, occasionally making notes. When I finished, she didn't offer platitudes or emotional support. She just looked at me and said, "That's a solid foundation. Now we build the structure." It was exactly what I needed. Cold, hard facts. Strategy. We filed for divorce. He was blindsided. He hadn't expected it, not like this. He expected tears, begging, maybe anger. He hadn't expected quiet resolve backed by paperwork. His initial reaction was outrage. "You're doing this? After everything? For what? Because you're unhappy? You're seriously overreacting." He still used the word even then. He couldn't help himself. It was his default defense, his dismissive shield. The legal process was a deepening crisis in itself. It was slow, draining, and incredibly expensive. He fought me on everything, dragging his feet, hiding assets. His lawyer, sharp and cold, was relentless. They tried to paint me as unstable, as driven by irrational jealousy. They brought up minor arguments from years ago, twisting them into evidence of my supposed instability. They argued the financial records were ambiguous, the travel could be legitimate business, the phone could be for anything. Without undeniable proof of the affair, they could just keep chipping away at my credibility, relying on his carefully constructed image and my perceived overreaction. They were good. They almost made me doubt myself again, in the sterile, adversarial world of legal battles. My lawyer kept telling me to hold on, that we had more coming. But the pressure was immense. My savings dwindled. The stress was physically debilitating. There were days I couldn't get out of bed, feeling crushed by the weight of it all. Was it worth it? Was exposing him worth this destruction? My lawyer pursued the hotel records. It was difficult. Privacy laws. Corporate resistance. We had to prove relevance, argue necessity. There were legal battles just to get the subpoenas issued and enforced. It felt like fighting Goliath with a slingshot, every step contested, every piece of information a victory hard won. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. It was about proving a pattern of deceit, about showing the court his character, his willingness to lie and manipulate not just me, but the system itself. The turning point came when the hotel in Chicago finally complied with the subpoena. It wasn't just the dates and room type. It was the access logs. Key card entries. Not just for him. For 2 key cards. Consistent entry and exit times for 2 cards registered to that specific suite over multiple stays. One under his name. The other under her name. The woman from the burner phone messages. My lawyer cross-referenced it with other records, other hotels we suspected. The pattern was undeniable. The paper trail wasn't just powerful, it was a physical, time-stamped record of his betrayal, corroborated from an independent source. It wasn't my word against his anymore. It was his lies against immutable data. And the Chicago hotel, ironically, was the one he'd been most casual about, most confident I'd never look into because he'd stayed there only once for a quick meeting his certainty had led to his undoing. My lawyer called. Her voice was calm, professional. "We have it," she said. Just like that. The access logs. Corroborated identity. "It's definitive." I didn't feel triumphant. I felt a profound sadness, a bone-deep weariness. It was over. The searching, the doubting, the fighting. The truth was undeniable. The fear dissolved, replaced by a cold, steady determination. There was no going back. No reconciliation. Just the final, necessary act of severing the lie. This proof wasn't just for the court, it was for me. Vindication. The final, crushing answer to his relentless accusation of overreacting. Which brings me back to the courtroom, the humming projector, the rectangle of light, his smug smile across the aisle. He thinks this is another one of my lawyer's attempts to introduce irrelevant emotional theatrics. He thinks she is nothing. He thinks he's safe behind his wall of denial and legal maneuvering. He thinks I am broken, irrational, defeated. My lawyer stands up. She walks calmly to the projector. She inserts a small USB stick. The screen flickers, showing a directory of files. She clicks on one. A video file. It starts playing. It's grainy. Security camera footage from a hotel hallway. The date stamp is clear, matching one of his late work trips. It's evening. People walk by, blurry shapes. Then, the camera captures the door to a suite. His suite. He appears in the frame, key card in hand. He's laughing, looking off camera at someone just out of view. His face is relaxed, happy, a look I hadn't seen directed at me in months. He opens the door and steps aside, gesturing for the other person to enter first. A woman walks into the frame. She's not blurry. Her face is clear. It's her, the woman from the phone. She smiles up at him, reaches out and touches his arm as she passes him, a gesture of familiar intimacy. He follows her inside, closing the door behind him. The timestamp continues to run. Hours pass. In the early morning, the door opens again. He comes out first, dressed in the same clothes as the night before, but rumpled. He looks tired, but still has that relaxed, sated air about him. A moment later, she emerges. They stand for a second outside the door, talking quietly. She laughs.
He kisses her goodbye.
Not a quick peck.
Ore alkish.
He watches her walk down the hallway towards the elevator, then he turns and walks the other way. The footage is silent, but speaks volumes. The sound in the courtroom disappears. It's like the air is sucked out of the room. The only thing I hear is the faint whir of the projector and maybe, just maybe, the sound of a world shattering. I don't look at the screen. I can't. I look at him. His face. The color drains from it instantly. The smugness vanishes, replaced by something raw and panicked. His eyes are fixed on the screen, wide with disbelief. His mouth hangs slightly open. He looks like he's been struck by lightning. His lawyer inhales sharply beside him. He doesn't seem to notice. He's frozen, utterly exposed by the silent, objective truth playing out on the wall. The confidence, the arrogance, the carefully constructed facade, it all crumbles in an instant. The man who sat there seconds ago, so sure of his lies, is gone, replaced by a pale, trembling stranger. He makes a sound, a guttural noise, half gasp, half choked sob. He clutches at his chest. His eyes roll back slightly. And then, slowly at first, like a building surrendering to gravity, he collapses. Slumps forward in his chair, then slides onto the floor in a heap. His lawyer is instantly beside him, shouting his name. The bailiff rushes over. There's commotion, sudden movement, murmurs rippling through the room. But for me, it's silent. The sound is still gone. I look at the heap on the floor, the man who was my husband, the man who told me I was overreacting, the man who thought he was invincible in his deceit. And the silence is filled, not with triumph, but with a heavy, aching emptiness. The screen still shows the empty hotel hallway. The truth is out, but the victory feels like ash. The aftermath is a blur of hushed voices, paramedics, and legal procedures continuing in a surreal calm after the storm. He's taken out on a stretcher. His lawyer, shaken but professional, requests a continuance. The judge grants it, his face grim. The air remains thick with what just happened. People avoid my eyes. The silence follows me out of the courtroom, into the bright, indifferent sunshine outside. The footage changed everything. Not just the legal case, which was now unequivocally decided in my favor, but the narrative. I wasn't the overreacting wife anymore. I was the one who saw the truth, pursued it against dismissal and gaslighting, and proved it with undeniable facts. The divorce settlement was swift and decisive, reflecting the evidence of his infidelity and financial misconduct during the process. I got the house, a fair share of the assets, more than I would have if my case had rested solely on my word against his. The paper trail, the irrefutable data, was indeed more powerful than emotions, more powerful even than his carefully constructed lies. But winning felt hollow. The collapse wasn't a moment of satisfying revenge. It was pathetic.
Sad.
The final, visible manifestation of the internal collapse that had already happened, likely long before I ever suspected. He wasn't a villain from a movie, He was just a broken man who chose a path of deceit and ultimately couldn't bear the weight of being exposed. Seeing him crumble like that didn't erase the years of lies, the pain, the self-doubt he'd inflicted. It just highlighted the tragedy of it all. The destruction wasn't just mine. It was his too, self-inflicted. Rebuilding is slow, like reconstructing a building after an earthquake. You have to clear the rubble first. That takes time. And it's dusty, hard work. The house feels different now. Quieter. Emptier in some ways. Fuller in others. It's mine now, unequivocally. No more ghosts in the corners. No more pretending. I repaint the walls, not just to change the color, but to cover the shadows of the past. I fix the creaky floorboard on the stairs. Small acts of repair, physical manifestations of the internal healing I'm trying to do. Trust is the hardest thing to rebuild. Not just trusting others, but trusting myself. He spent so long telling me my instincts were wrong, that I was making things up, that the word overreacting became a weapon lodged in my psyche. I have to consciously silence that voice, the one that whispers doubt whenever I feel something is off. I have to learn to listen to my gut again, to trust the cold knot of unease when it appears. My overreaction was simply intuition screaming to be heard. The experience changed me. It hardened some edges, softened others. I learned that quiet persistence can be more effective than loud confrontation. I learned that people, even those you love most, are capable of profound deceit. I learned that the truth, when finally revealed, isn't always a moment of glorious victory, but often one of quiet, sorrowful resolution. I won the legal battle. I reclaimed my financial security and my home. But the real victory was reclaiming my sanity, my perception of reality, and my belief in my own judgment. He called me overreacting. The hotel footage proved I was simply seeing clearly, while he was living a lie he couldn't maintain. It was a brutal lesson, learned in the harsh light of a courtroom projector, but it was mine. And I am stronger for surviving it. If this story hit close to home, I'd love to hear your version in the comments below. And if you haven't already, subscribing helps bring more of these stories to life.